Coming up on Meet the Leaders, community improvements in Brookhaven and the continued success of single-stream recycling. Meet the Leaders starts now. Hi, I'm Pat Halpin. Welcome to Meet the Leaders, the show getting you to the heart of local government right here and right now. From the town of Brookhaven, Councilwoman Jane Bonner. Jane, it's great to have you back on Meet the Leaders.
Nice to see you, Pat. Thank you.
Now, your council district is up in the northern central part, or I guess I would describe it, center-east part of Brookhaven.
Yes.
What are the communities you represent?
Starting west to east, Mount Sinai, Miller Place, Sound Beach, Rocky Point, Shoreham, the Brookhaven side, obviously, Wading River, then heading south, Ridge, Lake Panamokan Ridge, Shoreham Village is still on the North Shore, Coram, part of Middle Island.
All right. We got the picture. We've got the picture. By the way, Lake Panamoka is, when I was county executive, you brought it up. Most people don't even know this beautiful part of Brookhaven exists.
It's a beautiful little community. It really is.
And one of the big acquisitions we made when I was county executive was to preserve the open space in and around the lake. And the beautiful part about you would think you were, I'd be honest with you, in upstate New York.
It's like the Adirondacks.
It's
truly
great.
A beautiful little gem of a community. They're very proud of their community.
As they should be.
Non-motorized lake, so you see rowboats, you see catamarans, you see canoes. It's really, really a quaint little community.
So let's not tell anybody about it,
right?
Because
right?
all of a sudden it'll get overrun. So let's talk about improvements, because as I think about your part of Brookhaven, it's an area we had a lot of open spaces. There were a lot of farms over the years. Areas have gotten developed, but when it came to the kinds of community improvements that you see in other parts of the town, I would frankly say that area was either shortchanged or overlooked or hadn't caught up. Let's put it that way.
I like how you put that.
With the rest of the town. You've made that your top priority.
Absolutely. And one of the nice parts of council districts, we are the township that has councilmanic districts, is that you have a representative that actually lives in the community that they represent and knows the issues that are facing the community. And when we embarked on the Route 25A corridor study, a lot of the discussion not only came up about development, but improvements. And many communities always felt like they were a stepchild of Brookhaven Township, because when we were an at-large system, the focus would shift continuously.
And you didn't have the same accountability, so that if you're living in Lake Panamoka or in Rocky Point, you know who to call. And maybe, I remember, God bless him, Gene Gerard, who lived up in the northern part of the town. And he was kind of like even though he was elected by everybody in Brookhaven, I'll keep an eye on this, but it's a huge area.
Very, very, very large. My council district encompasses about 80,000 people.
Okay.
So, we all kind of represent 80,000 people. So a lot of the improvements were discussed long before I got elected, and then, further touched upon during the corridor study. So when you first get elected, you like to do some things very, very quickly to show people that you care. But then the longer you're there, some really nice things get to happen, because you get to, it's not just surface, it's truly in-depth. You really get to solve some ongoing long-term issues.
So let's get into that, because your point is right. You need to have a champion inside the government.
Yeah.
And it's not just putting a press release out, and it's not just about cutting a ribbon on something that was going to happen anyway. So these are things that take a lot of work.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the first one, Miller Place Pond.
Well, the Miller Place Pond project was truly one of the most fun projects it involved truly some of the least amount of stress I've ever had to handle as an elected official. This project, the Miller Place Pond, is on North Country Road in the historic district of Miller Place, and it's just a very bucolic setting, and it was originally developed as a catch basin for stormwater runoff. So subsequently, over the years, many years, it's become a pond, and there was a very utilitarian concrete wall with galvanized plumbing pipe.
Beautiful. Sounds very beautiful.
It was so bucolic, perfect for the historic district of Miller Place. And the North Country Road Middle School, the students do a workshop on the healthiness and the life in the pond. And so they brought to my attention that the pond was not draining properly. There was turbidity in the pond, invasive species. So we embarked on, we hired an outside consultant to determine what the issues were with the pond, in which they were pretty significant, but we were very, very fortunate and very, very blessed to save the taxpayers a lot of money because we were able to do the project, the dredging portion of it, in-house.
Oh.
And then we...
Which is to get rid of the invasive species
and
clean
to
it up.
dredge,
Yeah.
to
Get rid
get
of
the
the muck,
silt
yeah.
out from the runoff. So we did that, and then we contracted with an outside a mason that's part of our works with us in the town, and we had to go to Pennsylvania to find historically accurate facade front.
Oh, that's cool.
So instead of just like the stone that you see slapped up on a new house or regular brick, we went with something that was more historically accurate. We worked with Barbara Russell, our town historian, and it delayed the project by a couple of months. We had already started the project.
But it was worth it.
It was so incredibly worth it. Now you see it. It's the historically accurate front, a better drainage, a new weir that was constructed to make the pond not get too high and flood and destroy the wetlands that are there and properties that are there. And we put a beautiful wrought iron railing at the top. And it just, as you drive, I can't tell you the phone calls and the emails that I got.
And people must say, wow, it feels like it's been there for a long time.
Yes, yes. It looks like it was always there.
Right.
That it was not built, that the intended purpose is, it's serving its intended purpose, but now it just looks like something that was always, like Currier knives.
But you know what? What that took was somebody, I'm sure you did this with volunteers and people in the community, historical society
Yes.
experts and all that, taking an interest and say, yeah, we're going to clean this up, but we got one shot at this. So let's get it right and take whatever time is necessary to make sure we get what we're hoping for.
And something that fits within the community.
Right.
And you and I both know, Pat, as elected officials, you in your role, and the circle that you move in can still, that there's good and bad in that, because I always say the government moves in slow and reverse. And sometimes when it moves this slowly, you're able to make better decisions. And the project moving that slowly really, really helped make a better project.
Okay, what about the Cedar Beach Marina? For years, people have been saying, we got to do something here.
Well, we did a number of projects at Cedar Beach. A few years ago, we actually, instead of tearing down the old nature center, we partnered with the family, Randy Hagerman, whose family was the family's house, and it was our nature center, and it became infested with mold, and the town wanted to knock it down when Brian Foley was the supervisor and build a new one. And Randy said, I can clean this mold, and he did. And he cleaned the mold. We have all new projects, the new displays. We're running workshops out of there now. Cedar Beach is really a destination. It's one of the crowning jewels for Brookhaven. This past year, we embarked on a pretty ambitious plan to fix the bathrooms and the tower and the tower bathrooms and new cesspools and new drainage and a pergola gazebo type thing for the boaters and a barbecue area. It's really, really very, very beautiful. And again, it always takes longer than you want, but as you step back and address the issues that crop up, we're able to make a better product, I think, and something that looks so much better, and people are very, very pleased.
So
with it.
the house, how long had the house been there as part of the Hagerman
Well,
family?
the Hagermans built it, I think, in the 40s. It was in their possession for a very long time, and sadly, when the town did condemn the whole peninsula to
Because there used to be all these cottages there.
They had all the cottages,
and
yeah.
that was a big controversy in the
Yeah.
60s and the 70s.
Yeah. So now it's our nature center, and beautiful deck and pathway out to the beach, and there's a touch tank, and the kids come for workshops and programs. It's really, really, really a wonderful. There's a walking path around it. It's really nice.
It sounds great, and it sounds like, after all that controversy with the cottages, people can say, "What's going to happen next?" And it sounds like the next is something
I
that's
think
got a big wow factor.
Yes, it does have a wow factor, and what it did was it righted a wrong for a family to lose their house.
Right.
It really, so it kind of put the period at the end of the sentence, and everybody was happy about it.
Good.
So.
Okay, we're going to have more with Councilwoman Jane Bonner right after the break, so stay tuned. Okay, we'll get it. Welcome back to MDL, here with Brookhaven Councilwoman Jane Bonner from the 2nd Council District up in northern Brookhaven. So we've been talking about community improvements, and each one is interesting, but these things just don't happen.
No.
I mean, and we talked about 2 of them where obviously you got a lot of input from the community. People had good ideas. You got to sort through it. Then you got to bring the town resources to bear to make it happen. And then even when everybody's agreeing, you've got to be the one that says, "How are we doing?" You've got to keep the momentum going. And you've had great success, and it just doesn't happen overnight. But there are a couple of more that I want to talk to you about, which are important and that have really made a difference. The Wading River Woodhull House.
Well, that's a project that's truly near and dear to my heart. Wading River, the Woodhull House, and the downtown revitalization in Rocky Point. Those 2 are 2 projects that visually give you the biggest bang for your buck. The Woodhull House, the town acquired in the 80s, I think, hadn't fallen into the same disrepair as the Davis House in Quorum did. That used to be in my council district. It was redistricted out, but I'm happy that while it was in my council district, we spent well over $500,000 redoing the whole facade, which we essentially did with the Woodhull House as well. I mean, it's just a beautiful, historic saltbox colonial in Wading River on North Country Road, which is a very bucolic road.
How hard is it to respect the history of a house and its character and kind of feel as you're rehabbing it or in putting new facades on and doing it in a way that respects its history? Interesting
question, Pat, because there's governmental requirements and then there's historical accuracy. So it's a dance, it's a fine line, and then there's always budgetary constraints.
Right.
So we were very, very lucky with the Woodhull House that it didn't require the extensive renovation and repair that the Davis House did. So it was very easy to lobby my colleagues to say this is money well spent, because I've met elected representatives that are all about tearing it down and building new, because what's the sense of fixing old? And I scratch my head and go, hello, Long Island's history, the Revolutionary War.
Hey, Long Island has
the
history. Yeah, right.
So,
yeah, they were out there in the throes of that.
Yeah. So,
and they weren't loyalists.
So, Sid Bale and the Wading River Civic Association and the Historical Society, they've been really, really wonderful partners. And
so how is that house being used now?
Well, we're working on finding funding for the interior, and it doesn't require as much as, like I said, the Davis House. It would be my goal that the interior of that house we could have a caretaker live in there, and I envision it as professional space. One of the neat parts about that location is behind the Smithtown Hunt Club keeps their dogs there, keeps their hounds there, and they practice and do they drag a scent they drag a fox scent. They don't actually hunt for the fox, but they train their dogs there and they keep their dogs there. So there's a presence there all the time, which is a safety issue and a security issue.
And there's a lot of history that goes
Sure.
long.
Fox hunting,
fox hunting,
yes,
all that part
yes.
of town. All right, so that's moving on. What about the Shore and Wading River Defense Hill Field?
Defense Hill is opposite the North Shore Public Library and the Shore and Wading River High School, and that is a town facility at the top of the hill where we have a baseball field and a football field, and many you raise children. I mean, sports are huge. Football has my kids played soccer, and lacrosse was just coming very, very popular when my kids were in school. Now it's the be-all and end-all. But this is a huge baseball complex, and North Shore Little League and SWR Little League are merging for the first time, and will have doubled their field space. And the Sharks Football League and cheerleaders has almost 1,000 participants, I'm pretty sure, between football
so what were
and
the
cheerleading.
improvements that were made on the fields?
With the fields are new turf fields, lighting.
Do you like those turf fields?
Well, not grass.
No, grass. Okay,
I think it's safer for the kids.
Okay.
I do. I don't.
But they're not inexpensive.
They're not.
They're expensive.
Yes,
Oh,
they
but,
are.
But,
They are.
you've got new fields.
Yes, and a source of pride for the people that
Yeah.
play on the teams, and a source of pride for the residents of Brookhaven. It really, I think it's good to show people their tax dollars at work.
I couldn't agree with you more. And there's certain things that are just used,
Yes,
as you're pointing out.
and they need to be maintained.
All the time.
Yeah,
and they need to be maintained, and they need to be kept up. And they need someone like you paying attention to it. So if somebody comes to you and says, hey, the fields are bad. When I was county executive once, I got a call from a local soccer field. It was on the county park. And they said, nobody from the county has cut the grass. And they're calling me the county executive. And they say, I'm not happy about that. I called the Parks Commissioner. Needless to say, they got people down there.
Sure, right
a
away.
big tournament. But I began thinking about it. I said, why does the county have this? We'll just give this park to the town because they'll do a better job because they're there every day.
Well, the nice partnership that we have with the Sharks is that they do all the maintenance.
Right. So
They
you look
do.
for those kinds
Yeah.
of partners where you have, frankly, people who are on the ground regularly. And
they
they're
know
able
that
to do a
what their
better job.
requirements are.
Absolutely. So that's really, really smart. Hey, I want to talk to you about the new legislation regarding blight. I mean, every community has to deal with blight, and they have to deal with the time it takes to deal with blighted properties and the negative effect it has on property values and just the feel of a community or a street.
Well, it's really the feather in the cap of a number of initiatives we worked on as a town board under the supervisor's direction. All the things that we've discussed really on some level are quality of life,
Right.
life issues, but blighted properties and vacant homes are truly I think one of the number one quality of life issues that we deal as council district representatives. The economy, the foreclosures, and the trickle-down effect, which ended up with people just walking away from houses
Yep.
that they were underwater from, or unable to pay the mortgage any longer. So they would become dilapidated, broken windows, falling down gutters, holes in the roof.
So what are you doing differently now
Well,
to
it's
expedite that process of either getting them into private hands or just securing them so they're no longer an eyesore?
It's a two-prong effort, Pat. It's the vacant homes registry is for homeowners and for banks. To register their properties, because a lot of these houses are languishing for years and years and years, and very, very minimal upkeep is done. So they are required to register the home within 30 days. And if they don't,
They being the bank. Who's
or
responsible,
yes,
whoever the
yes,
appropriate
yes.
responsible party is.
Typically, it would be the bank. It
Correct.
wouldn't be a homeowner that would have a vacant home. And if they don't, then there's a fee. And the fee starts at $1,000.
Oh, that gets their attention.
Yes, it very much gets their attention. And we have an app. People can go to brookhaven.org, or they can go to their smartphone, and there's an app. You can click on the app, and you can enter the address yourself. And some of these houses are so blighted that we have a dirty dozen that a number have already been taken down. That they've been allowed to languish. And what ends up happening is that the town has become kind of property managers, property maintenance managers. We go in, we cut the grass, we board and secure.
And you put a lien ultimately against that property.
The back end of it is the lien
Yeah,
that the
for the
bank
cost.
that has to be satisfied. But we have budgeted more money this year for board and secures, for grass cutting, just for those specific instances.
There are a lot of communities wrestling with this, and this idea that you make it easy for the banks, if they take foreclosure, ideally they should register.
We
or
get
for
the money
or
ultimately.
Or for the neighbors to come in and say, hey, this is a house that needs to be on that list. I'm sure the banks, they may not like the fine, but they appreciate the coordination.
100%. And they're pretty good about when we call them, the grasses, we got
Yeah.
a complaint, and then they'll send a crew out.
Not as quickly as you would like, though.
Never.
Okay, don't
Never.
go anywhere. Meet the Leaders. We'll be back in about 90 seconds. Welcome back to Meet the Leaders, here with Brookhaven Councilwoman Jane Bonner. Jane, we can't talk about your district without talking about the community you love and grew up in, Rocky Point.
Rocky Point.
And every time you've been on the show, you've talked about downtown revitalization.
Yes.
And you alluded to it a little bit before, but it's happening.
It happened.
So talk to us
And
about, refresh people's memory about what it was and what the revitalization's goals were and how it's happened.
Well, in the 90s, the state built a bypass behind 25A, and it literally took all the traffic from downtown Rocky Point, so the people that lived in Points East didn't drive through downtown Rocky Point anymore. They literally bypassed it.
Right.
So, as could be expected, businesses instantly started failing. And it had fallen on very, very rough times. And talk about a community that didn't get the governmental resource. Before I got elected, I was a civic member and a legislative aide and always a very active participant in improving Rocky Point when I moved there in the late 80s. So the planets aligned, and the heavens shone down on Rocky Point, downtown Rocky Point. The highway superintendent, Dan LaSquadro, and Senator Ken LaValle came up with over $1 million. In addition to that, we also had CDBG money, community development block grant money, that we bought a piece of property, built a parking lot on Broadway. Parking being a huge issue because these small stores with no parking behind the stores, it was all in the front. So we just finished right around Christmas time, when it was perfect timing for the tree lighting, all new sidewalks, curb cuts, street lights, colored crosswalks. It just, when you drive down into downtown Rocky Point, it's just a sight to behold. It really,
so you have
really
a real
is.
sense of place
A real
now.
sense of place. It's a real downtown community. We've met. I've had a number of meetings with business owners, and actually, Paul Pontieri came to a meeting not too long ago.
The mayor of Patchogue.
Mayor of Patchogue Village, because if anybody deserves credit for turning a village around, it's certainly Paul. And in the spring, I'll be having a follow-up meeting with the business owners because they're so excited about the improvements. They want to know what's coming next.
So the infrastructure work has been done.
That's my role as the
and
council
to
person.
do that, and now you're encouraging the private sector
Yes.
to say this is a place
This
to
is
invest.
the place to invest, absolutely, 100%. And the business owners, for the first time in a very long time, are very, very excited about it.
People talk about business confidence. If people feel like, okay, this community has got a future, and this business district has a future, then I want to be part of it.
And I'll invest in it. And at the end of the day, Pat, the community of Rocky Point and the residents of North Shore Beach certainly deserve to have a downtown that looked nice, that they feel proud to drive through every day. And it had not been that way for a very, very long time.
Well, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
We only have 2 minutes left.
Sure.
Brookhaven started something new with recycling, and they kind of broke the mold and said,
We sure did.
And said, why are we dumping all of our cans, papers, everything that get recycled in different bins? Put it all in one bin.
One single stream.
How's it working?
It's working better than we knew it would be successful. We knew it would be tremendous. We knew it would be truly one of the best things we ever did for the environment and for our bottom line. And we've saved over almost $500,000 alone just in the single stream recycling for what we don't have to put into the landfill that we recycle.
So what should people do? Because we have a video that what should people do when it comes to single stream
On
recycling?
Wednesdays, what they should do, on Tuesday nights, they should combine all their cardboard, all their junk mail, shred anything with important numbers on it. Their plastics, 1 through 7. There is Brookhaven.org will have all the information that they need. We want you to put it all together, bottles, cans, paper.
And what should people not do?
Don't put it in your garbage.
Keep it separate from
Keep it
your
separate.
kitchen waste, because that.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, I know what you mean now. Yeah, absolutely. Don't put your, don't dump your coffee grounds into the newspaper and then put that into your recycling. Don't do that.
Or anything oil.
Or anything oil. No, don't do anything oil. Do anything like that.
So you want to have clean recyclables.
Yes,
So we know
yes.
what they are: plastics, metals, newspapers,
Yes.
cardboards. All of that stuff. But
And
don't contaminate.
rigid plastic too. We increased our numbers to the number on the bottom. Look at the bottom of your,
And go to your website.
And go to the
Or call
website.
your office. Jane,
Thanks.
We've run out of time. That's going to do it.
Wonderful.
Thanks for watching MTL. I'm Pat Halpin. We'll see you again.